Welcome back to this section of our Friday night switch to Linux. We're going to be looking at our security news. So we are going to be talking about being wise with your online accounts. This was one of, I think, a couple, two silly little articles that didn't really say anything useful, but it was worthy of a discussion point. How to protect yourself from mega breaches like the one that hit Ticketfly. So Ticketfly, one of the places where you can buy concert tickets and things, and they got hacked pretty bad. Basically, a hacker comes in and says, hey, you have a security vulnerability for 1 Bitcoin. I won't release any of this stuff, and I'll tell you what all the patches are and how to fix it. They're like, you don't have anything. And so, yep, it all leaked, and they end up having to bring in a bunch of people. Basically, the hack exposed 26 million email addresses, home addresses, phone numbers, first and last names, according to Have I Been Pawned. So basically, this hacker's just like, hey, $7,500, that'll save you a lot of problems. You guys can patch it nice and quiet. I go away. It's probably a better deal. But the officials didn't respond. The hacker defaced the site. Oh, they defaced the site too. And they publish user data online. So basically, I mean, if you've ever used this, and then, so this article here is taking this Ticketfly breach. I think they were trying to put a neat spin on this. It's like, okay, hundreds of breaches every week. So how do we put a better spin on it? So they wanted to give you tips for how not to do all this. Well, some sites are more lenient with incomplete or incorrect information. Guys, if you are providing a payment method, you cannot give them a wrong address. That's the challenge. That's a big challenge. And so with that being said, yes, some of their information here is good. Using fake phone numbers, using fake addresses, things like this. And this is all wise stuff to do most of the time, in reality. Particularly for sites like, Spotify. What do they need your birthday for, really? They don't. Don't give it to them, okay? You need a Spotify account. Don't give them your real birthday. In reality. So, of course, they're saying, basically use fake data when you can. They talk about using separate email addresses for services you don't particularly trust. Again, some of this stuff isn't going to prevent data leaks from these services that you perceive that you really want to use. Like in this case, Ticketfly. You're buying tickets. You have to engage in commerce. You can't just give all this fake information and still expect to be able to buy tickets and use them. This is a deeper systemic problem about security in the world. But the bigger question that I have is, do we really need all of these online accounts? So, yes, I agree with some of this news. I think the article that was worse, I kicked it out. It was, I think it was Eric Schmidt from Google talking about how everything we know about passwords is wrong. And in reality, it was a good article, except the reason I didn't include it is they didn't say anything in the article. It was just a promotional to listen to their 45-minute podcast. So, no, I'm not going to do that. Of course, he mentions here that if you are using a Google sign-in, which I advocate you don't do anyway, you can do, in theory, these extra things with the Plus, Ticketfly, and Plus Amazon, which gives a unique address to each different service. However, most services do not see that as a valid email address. And if the service you're signing on to does do a check on your email address, if it's valid, this will not be allowable. And that's why these things have never really caught on. But definitely have throwaway email addresses. I use a Hotmail address for throwaway email addresses. You can use one of the temporary email addresses, but oftentimes, particularly for this application, you need ready longer-term access to it than that. Basically, at the same time, just be cautious. Use fewer online services. That's my ultimate message. Use fewer online services. Like, don't go in and put in all your information into MyHeritage ancestral DNA stuff. Why in the world you would give all of this excessively private data to some for-profit firm, or worse, a data analytics firm, is so far beyond my realm of comprehension, it's kind of frightening. Now, this MyHeritage account had, I think it was like 92.3 million users leaked. Now, fortunately, this was only an email address, so get some ready for some spam, and a hash of the passwords. They did not get any of the DNA stuff, but the article I was originally reading, the Heritage, this blog post from them doesn't address this, but the problem is this type of DNA data is way more valuable than credit card data. Credit card data is easy to wipe, reset. It expires after a certain period of time. It really has limited use. But health data, personally identifiable data that you can't change, like birth dates, and that's why don't give Spotify or anything else that doesn't have to have your birthday your real birthday. All of these types of things, those types of things are more valuable. Who would want your DNA data? Well, insurance companies, scientific researchers, law enforcement. A lot of people want your DNA data. That's why I have no idea why people are so foolish as to put all of this stuff out for the whole world to see. And it's not that the whole world can see this DNA, but they got one hack. Who's to say they're not going to get a hack of the DNA data as well? And these are active targets because an insurance company would pay a lot for DNA data, because they can link that into your profile and charge you more rates because of it. That's kind of what the challenge is. Yes, DNA does expire when you are dead. Yes, that is very true. And so they're talking about steps we've taken, what our users should do. They're recommending everybody change your password, even though they're reasonably sure passwords are secure. They still want you to change your password, so be aware of that. All right, so next, we talked about this last week. VPNFilter malware infecting 500,000 devices is much worse than we thought. So we reported on this last week. Basically, this is tied to a Russian attack, which can downgrade HTTPS, basically making any encrypted traffic reroute back to them with in decrypted form. It can destroy computers on the network, push malware to computers attached to your network, and it could actually blow up your router if they wanted to. The breach is far worse than we thought it was. They have increased the amount of devices. So Asus, D-Link, Huawei, Linksys, MikroTik, Netgear, QNAP, T-Link, Ubiquiti, Upheaval, and ZTE devices. These are all devices that are now known. So this list has like tripled from what was thought last week. So if you have any of these devices, daily chore, unplug it, plug it back in, maybe twice a day or more. So constantly be adjusting this a little bit so that the thing can't move on to its next stages. Make sure you're changing your administrator passwords, basic credentials into these so they're not on the default stuff. But still, we don't know what exactly is causing all these to be infected. So just something to keep in mind. And of course, this is just funny. Flash 0-day are still a big deal. Browsers are not quite as vulnerable to this because most browsers are disabling Flash by default, so the hackers are just sending you infected Microsoft Office documents instead. Yay! You open up the document, it goes and launches either ActiveX or Flash, and of course ActiveX is an Internet Explorer thing. But it'll extract all this information, and it will basically utilize this. This is why if you don't need Flash, just uninstall it. The only reason, in my opinion, Flash is still around is because it stores super cookies and zombie cookies you can't get rid of. When you're storing a cookie on a device, a web browser can only store a very small cookie. Flash can store a cookie about 100 times the size, and so if you can load up Flash and store a cookie in Flash, that will actually distribute those cookies to each browser as you allow Flash to use it. So that's where the concept of zombie cookies come from. You clear out the cookie and it comes back the next time Flash opens because of that methodology. Now with GDPR, with having to comply, including the cookie regulations, I think that that's probably the final coffin and the final nail in the coffin of Flash, and we'll probably see that dead within a short period of time at this point. Even Adobe's been calling for the end of Flash, so we just need to make Flash go away at this point. Just bury it deep. That, I think, wraps up our security news, so leave me any of your thoughts and comments down below. I hope you've enjoyed this video from Switched to Linux. If you'd like to help support the channel, check out the links at the top. There is another video over here. You can check out our Patreon page down here. And you can check out shop.switchtolinux.com for information on a t-shirt like this or some other designs. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.